Let's just get comfy here. Hi, I'm Tabi, and I make videos every week with tips and tricks to help you transform your life one day at a time. This week, I want to talk about relationships. And I have one thing that helped me improve all of my relationships and get into the lovingest partnership I've ever been in, and one that I hope will last for the rest of my life. So let's get into it. So I was a person who went from relationship to relationship from the time that I was 18 until my late 20s, just jumping from one relationship to the next. I was the kind of person who would try things out by being in a relationship. So if I was interested in like marathon running, I would find somebody who was interested in that and date them and learn about that thing, and then realize that I didn't like that thing, and then also realize that I didn't really like that person. Not great, but we each go through our own path and we have to figure things out. And unfortunately, the way that people figure things out is often by bumping up against other people and causing some hurt. So the best we can do is our best. We can learn, we can try to do things differently. We can do everything that we can actively to not hurt other people and forgive ourselves when we do. Make amends where possible and let it go, because nobody's perfect. Life can be complicated and messy and difficult, and sometimes we're just figuring things out, and that's okay. It's okay to make mistakes, and yes, sometimes people get hurt, sometimes you get hurt, but that's really part of it, and learning to accept that has really helped me, because I spent so much time feeling guilty and sad and like I was a bad person for breaking up with someone, or realizing that they weren't what I thought they were, or the fit wasn't right, or that I wasn't able to really be my true self with them. And I wasn't a bad person. I didn't go into it trying to hurt anybody or thinking that I was going to. And maybe other people felt like they knew that that's what was going to happen and they judged me for it, but all I can do is my best, and I did. And now I'm in a situation where grown up a lot, I've done a lot of work, and I know who I am and sort of my common attributes, the things that I do in relationships that aren't super healthy, my red flags that I can pay attention to for myself so that I don't do those things anymore in relationships. And it took me a long time to get there. I worked with coaches, therapists, lots of self-help books, lots of research online, YouTube videos, and it really helped me get to where I am now. And it was worth it, Every minute of that journey was worth it to get me where I am today. And you can find that too. So my biggest, number one relationship trick, hack: make it all about you. It sounds a little bit silly. I know. And I don't fully mean it in a be super selfish kind of way. What I'm talking about is the idea that the only thing you can change in a relationship is yourself. You cannot change this other person. They might change around you or for you, but really we only ever change for ourselves. And that's what we should focus on in relationship. How can I change to be the person that I want to be in this relationship? Not the person that they want me to be, or that your parents want you to be, or your friends want you to be, or that society wants you to be. Who do I want to be in this relationship, and how do I approximate that person? Focusing on what you can do and what you can change about yourself can drastically and dramatically improve a relationship that's a good fit for you. If becoming more the person that you want to be is causing more fights, more issues, pulling you apart from this person that you're with, that might be a sign that they're not the right person for you, and that is okay. I think it's kind of sad the way that we look at relationships and that we view a relationship ending as a failure. That's ridiculous. A relationship ending is not a failure if you learned something from it. It is another step on the pathway. Sometimes we grow up or we change or we don't fit the way that we used to. And letting go of something in an adult, mature, kind, conscientious way, that is a win. The more that we view breaking up as a failure, as something negative, as a mistake, or something that you shouldn't ever do, the more we do damage to this idea that we, human beings, grow with and for each other, that bouncing up against each other is a big way that we grow up and that we learn what is and isn't okay for us and for others. Breaking up can be just as an important part of the relationship as how you started the relationship. And breaking up in a kind way with the understanding that it's normal and natural for things to run out and for us to grow out of situations and people. And that doesn't mean they failed or we failed or that there's anything wrong with anybody in either of these parts of the relationship. Nobody did anything wrong. I mean, maybe they did, but nobody did anything wrong. And a breakup is just an acknowledgement that this level of closeness isn't working anymore for one or both of us moving forward. So let's redefine the relationship. Maybe it needs to end completely. Maybe it doesn't. Imagine being able to date people and recognize actually we're better as friends and be able to go back to just being friends. Wouldn't that be amazing? I have relationships like that and I love it. And yes, sometimes they're complicated and I don't suggest them for everybody, but it works. And it's because we were able to both acknowledge our feelings, our part in the relationship, and that it had changed, and accept the people that we were now and the way that we might be able to relate in the future. So that's a big tangent, but I think it's really important when you're talking about relationships to also be addressing how relationships end, and that is just as important or more important than how they begin. And finding some love, some calm, some peace around the idea that ending a relationship does not mean it was a failure. The only successful relationship in your life being the one that you leave because you died is ridiculous. Do I think monogamous long-term partnerships are beautiful? Yeah, some of them are amazing, but not all of them. And if 50% or more of us are getting divorced and more of us are unhappy or know people who are unhappy in their marriages and are staying for the kids or doing these things, I just want a happier world, guys. You know, like, can we just all be happy some of the time? That'd be great. And how do we get there? So let's make those changes one day at a time together. That's the big goal. So yeah, let's get back to the main topic. So my one thing for happy relationships, focusing on yourself and what you can do. So a good example of this is this story that I read once, and it was in a, I think it's like a Christian book about marriage. And while I might not believe in all the ideology or be very religious or specifically think that those are the right ways to go about it, I do think that there's wisdom in everything, that there can be wisdom potentially found in a lot of different places, and that there's no reason to limit what I take in just because it's Buddhist or Christian or whatever. I think all sources of information can be helpful. So take what you like, leave the rest. And in this case, it was from a book that had Christian stories. And the basic premise was, I'm a little rusty. I haven't filmed in a few weeks because I was in Japan, which was awesome. But I'm back now, so. Okay. So the story was basically this woman, and she was really unhappy in her marriage, and she really just wanted her husband to bring her flowers, and he never did. And she was so upset, and she felt like he didn't really love her because he didn't bring her flowers, and this was something that she wanted, and she told him she wanted it, and he never did it, and she just felt so upset. And I'm sure that this was, a symptom of a larger problem, but focusing on the flowers. So she speaks to somebody, maybe a priest in this story, I don't remember, somebody wise, and they tell her, focus on giving yourself the thing that you want. So she goes to the store, she buys flowers. She puts them on the table, this beautiful centerpiece. She's got flowers in the house. Her husband comes home and he goes, wow, those are beautiful flowers. Who were they from? And she almost lies to him and tells him they're from some guy at work or some secret admirer that she has, tells him some story to try to make him jealous. But at the last second, she decides, no, that's not helpful. I'm not going to do that. Good job. And instead, she tells him, they're for you. I bought them for you. And her husband is so moved and touched that he starts crying. And he's like, wow, nobody has ever bought me flowers. And they're so pretty and they're so nice and they're bringing so much life. And he's so moved by this gesture that she brought him flowers that he starts to bring her flowers. And they're both happier. And getting emotional. It just makes me so hopeful for the world to think about being able to fix our relationships, to help and aid our relationships in ways that make everybody happier. Like, if we thought that making a better marriage or a better friendship or a better relationship with our kid could be done in a way that made both of us happier, instead of sort of this idea of like going to therapy or like having to do work on yourself, like I feel like there's this idea that if your relationship is struggling, the only things you can do are hard and difficult and a struggle. But what if it was like, do the things that make you happy, and then you'll both be happier. And then your relationship gets better. Like, yeah, that's what I want, And so this idea of focusing on yourself, on what you want, on what you can do, there's lots of different ways to look at that. But I think the basic idea from this and that I took away from that story and others in that book was, if there's something that you really want done and your partner isn't doing it, do it yourself. And yes, it's annoying and it's frustrating and you feel like they should and all the things. But hey, if you want the sink to not have dishes in it, ask them to do the dishes with you or do it yourself. If you want the toilet clean, clean the toilet. Do I think that we should be in partnerships where we help each other? Yes. But do I also think that starting to do the thing that you want done can help somebody realize how to do it and how often to do it and that it's nice when it's done? Sometimes people just don't recognize what it's like to have a clean bathtub or a clean toilet or a sink that doesn't have dishes in it all the time. And if you start to do that and they see that, that can be really helpful. I am a person who has ADHD, and so I have a thing where if something is cluttered, I don't even see it. It no longer exists to me. I can recognize an empty table that now has a few things on it and put those things away. But if we always have stuff on the table and then I add more stuff to the table, I cannot recognize that I've added things to this pile. I saw clutter and now it's cluttered and it's the same cluttered and nothing has changed in my brain. But if you came by and cleaned off the table and then I came and put a bunch of stuff on the table, I will recognize, oh, it's different now. It was clean before and now it's not. And I can take charge of the mess that I've created to fix it. So that's another thing to think about. Where are they on the neurotypical, neuroatypical spectrum? And even if not that kind of like pathologized or, diagnosis sort of thing, what do they do? And what works for them and what works for you? So focusing on the thing that you can do. You want to have a clean house? Clean it. Then you get to have a clean house. Now, are they actively sabotaging you? That's different. Are they constantly creating messes and you feel like you're following around after them, trying to pick up after them? I'm not saying be somebody's mother or father in a relationship. Definitely not that. But sometimes making the change that you want on your own consistently over a period of time can create the change that you want in your life. So that's my big advice for relationships. Focus on the things that you can do. And give yourself a little bit longer than you think you should have to. Like, plan for it to be a longer experience than you would like it to be before you see positive changes. The best thing would be to be doing this stuff without expecting any positive change. I think that people often are able to change in a space where there's just openness and love. And the more that we expect things or want things, like we put this energy on other people and it's heavy and they feel it and they don't want to. And just being like, hey, yeah, oh, I did the dishes because I like the sink clean. Calm, you know? And then they're like, huh. Where when you're like, I did the dishes, it's a little bit different energy, you know? So what does it take for you to get to a place where you're able to be calm and mostly loving as you make these changes in your relationship? So these are my thoughts this week. As usual, a little scattered and all over the place. Hopefully you found some nuggets in there that are useful. If you watched all the way to the end, you're a champion. I love you. Thank you so much. I promise I'll get better as time goes on, but I'm still new at this and I'm bad at it, and that's okay because I'm working on not being perfect. And it's hard, but I'm doing it one day at a time. So I would love to hear from you. Let me know what you took from this, if anything, or something that you really find is helpful in your relationships with people. And yeah, I hope you're having a lovely day, a lovely week, a lovely life. I'm Tabi, and I post every week, or I try to. And yeah, let's just keep learning and growing together. So, have a good one.